one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering subreddits for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, prospectors, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast, the podcast where we delve into those salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community, find the saltiest stories we can find, those salty confessionals, and bring them back up and share them with you, our listener. We'll talk about these. We'll talk about salt. We'll tell some jokes and maybe pass along a little bit of wisdom. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just, occupy you for an hour while you're driving into work. But that's pretty good too, right? As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm joined today by my two co-hosts, Mike and Tony. Say hey, guys.
What up? Hey.
Hey. Indeed.
Well, I was going to say, you didn't say indeed. Can it really be a true start to the podcast?
I snuck it in, man. I snuck it in. I didn't want to. Just keeping you on your toes, Tony.
I like that.
I know.
Where are we going?
Where is this going?
Everyone
move
else
along, sir.
leave the room. And we are joined today by a special guest, Mike Carrozza, stand-up comedian from Montreal and author for Commander's Herald for the article called "Am I The Bolas?" What's going on, Mike?
Howdy, boys. What's cracking?
Thanks for joining us,
happy
man.
to be here. Man, when I saw, this all came about because Josh was on a couple weeks ago with the Stoic Angel, and he posted on Twitter, it's like, if you're not bringing this up in the Rule Zero discussion, I don't want to play with you. And it's Stoic Angel. And I have a Discord chat with like friends of mine, and I sent it over and I was like, I can't tell if this is real. Does anybody know this guy enough to know if this is a bit? Because I know he plays CDH, but like when he's playing casual, maybe is this for real? Because if this is for real, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this level of magic to be hitting right now. And turns out, of course, it's a bit, but man, it was a scary couple minutes. Because I was like, man, what happened? Everybody's talking about running removal, and then all of a sudden, Stoic Angel. Man,
It's overpowered, quite frankly.
that hoses my entire deck. It's like, dude, hey man, guess what? You'll lose faster, which takes you to game 2. How about that? Is that really what you want? Or hey, maybe it's time to bounce the angel, and then you focus all your energy on that guy.
The really scary thing is that that's a bit because someone truly was scared of Stoic Angel.
Someone genuinely raged over it.
Look, I was afraid of it back in 2013 too. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, and I had it in my deck, and it was stolen from me. That's how I played the Derevi deck, and it was just a tap untap shenanigans deck, and I had the Stoic Angel in there. It ruled, but it got taken from me, and I was like, no, my stuff. But then I killed it.
You did that thing you do when a card shows up that you're not excited about at the table.
Yeah.
You deal with it.
Unexpected absence. Put it on top of my library. Get it back.
Boom.
Oh wow,
That's actually pretty good tech, dude. Damn.
this was 2013.
But yeah, and then I was like, haha, I get that reference. And you were like, what's the reference?
What?
And I was like, it's a reference to a podcast episode that hasn't been aired yet. So
Right.
It's like literally an open joke just for the three of us and Josh.
Right. But then I read up on what the podcast is, and I was like, oh, no, this is my column. This is what I do at Commander's Herald. The whole point is people email in like an Ask Annie kind of situation, right? They're looking for advice. They're trying to be like, was I in the wrong, or was this person wrong? Basically, am I the asshole of the Reddit thread, the Reddit subreddit to Magic? Am I the Bolas? Am I the biggest asshole in Magic history? Here's the thing. Biggest asshole might be Yawgmoth, probably, with all the genocide stuff and the eugenics and stuff. But, Bolas was the most recent big bad. And so we went with that. And Yeah, man, it's literally what I do on the column. Is people be like, so I was playing this game, and this guy played a high-powered deck, even though he said it wasn't high-powered, and he tutored all his combo pieces, and by turn 3 assembled it and won. Am I the Bolas for not wanting to play against him again? And it's like, no, dude, you're fine.
Live your life.
But guess what? This guy lives a sad life. Okay. Anybody that tells you that they're not running an infinite combo deck, or like it's not high powered, and then they turbo out a win when people are still like, land, go. Here's another guild gate,
like people calling things jank and then like just still winning like turn 4 or 5 and being named Anthony.
I mean, some people are just better than other people at the game. I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem with jank is that it can still win.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
I'm not ever gonna get mad at anybody playing a jank deck getting the perfect hand. Like that's something. Hey, guess what? We got to see that. Guess who got to witness?
You guys are fucking privileged.
History. You know what I'm saying? And it always involves Soul Ring, which is why I think it needs to go. Like, but then where else do you throw it?
Wow, yeah. Coming in hot and heavy with
fun.
The fan opinions right off the top.
I think it needs to go for me. I don't need. Oh God! Except in decks where I run CMC 5 or more, CMC mana value 5 or more as a average. Like my ever-changing Dane deck is like most of the creatures are 5+. So I'm like, maybe Mikey gets a little Soul Ring.
I was playing with a group a couple weeks ago where whenever somebody played a Soul Ring on turn 1, they had to put $1 in the middle of the table, and whoever won the game gets the $1 back. So it's basically like your tax for, or you put the money towards like snacks or something like that. It's your tax for being able to have like such a gas first couple turns.
Finally balanced ante.
Yeah. Fuck great. Yeah. I love that. That's wonderful.
The soul jar.
Yeah. And it came up like people were putting dollars in the middle of the table. It was awesome.
I mean, depending on how many games you get to play in a night, that's gonna happen like a handful of times.
For sure.
Yeah. Then you get $3. Good job, everybody. We love to see it.
I can now buy a new Soul Ring.
In America, you can.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, let's get into our interview section of the podcast, Mike. So, our first question is, when did you get into playing Magic? When did you start playing?
I got into Magic in 99, I believe. I started playing in 99 when I found 7th edition. Like it was like an intro to Magic thing. And you could you got a CD and you put it into your computer and it's a tutorial. And then at the end, it's like, sign up for Magic Online. And I was like, well, I don't have the internet, so I'm just going to play the tutorial over and over again. And whatever, I'm 8. I'm a little dipshit. I like that this, hey, it comes with a deck where there's a Thorn Elemental and those, spooky, right?
Thorny.
So,
Thorn Elemental was OP.
Oh, it was back then.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I've got a 7th edition foil Thorn Elemental.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
You can retire on that, Tony.
It's worth more than I think it should be, but
tell that to every 7th edition foil.
Exactly.
Anyway, I started back then. I was playing kind of just like kitchen table with friends for a long time. Dipped out, got back into it. Stopped playing altogether when I hit high school, and then I always bought packs like every now and then. Like I stopped playing, and then I was like, oh, what's this? I missed this game. Let me buy a pack of Betrayers of Kamigawa.
Yeah.
Sure. And then it was like, oh, Mirrodin Besieged. Who hasn't? What is okay? Or before that, Mirrodin. And then when I was back was Theros block. So Theros, Born of the Gods, Journey into Nyx.
Yeah.
I was back in, and then I bought a Commander Precon, the Derevi one.
Nice.
Evasive Maneuvers. Yeah, very fun, very cool. Lots of reasons to love that deck and hate it. But I 2013 came around, bought that, thought, let me upgrade it. I looked at Tomer's upgrade lists online on Budget Commander, used that for a basis of what I wanted to do. My old school buddy, Lucas, who was working at the store, was like, hey, I play with friends. Like, I haven't seen you in years, but like, I know you if you want to join up. So started doing that. And like 2014 came around. I ended up buying another pre-con, played at a comedy festival with a couple nerds there. And
Nice.
2015, I was in Marin and Ezri decks. I had them both. I started slamming. So from then on, I've been very consistent. Eventually that turned into writing about it, being way more into it. I write for Commander's Herald, EDHREC's sister site. I've written a couple articles for EDHREC.
Sick, dude.
And now I also write for the Bag of Loot, which is my LGS's blog, where they're like, hey, a new set's coming out. You want to talk about what it is for Commander? And I'll be like, sure thing, dude. These cards rule. These cards suck. Buy them all anyway.
Buy them here at this LGS.
Exactly. So yeah, started in 99. Just like everybody I've heard is like they start young, kind of fall away from it, come back to it. It doesn't help that I was, bullied for it a little bit early on. Made me want to give it up. But I've always really appreciated the game. I feel like I learned a lot from it. It feels like one of those games where you don't feel like a total dweeb nerd learning stuff. And it tricks you into learning. Like I read vigilance and I was like, well, that's a word I'm unfamiliar with. Better look it up in the dictionary.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like that's what I liked about it when I first started playing. It was like this kind of unnecessarily complicated thing that's just like really cool, like really interesting interactions happen. And I got to fucking collect shit, which I like doing too. So
and look at cool pictures.
Win-win.
Yeah, exactly. The art was a big piece for me. It was just always so cool. Like there were some cards that like objectively sucked ass, but like you're looking at them and you're like, awesome. Bargaining table for Mercadian Masks, sick. You tell me what that card does, then you have a weird deck,
or too much of Mercadian Masks bulk lying around.
I mean, Jesus, the rebels. What a time in Magic's history.
Well, let's jump to our next question here, Mike.
Hit me.
So you're a connoisseur of salt. You've got your Am I the Bolas article. What makes you salty?
I wasn't prepared for this question.
He's reading off a script, folks. He lifts up the script and begins to read.
There's a typo. The thing that makes me salty, I'll say is, and here's the thing. I'm going to go and say, I get salty a lot. All right. Not great. Not a great start.
You're in good company.
Hey, good. Because I get salty when people are deliberately clashing with someone else's experience. I feel like that's like, if somebody makes it clear that like, hey, this is the first time I'm playing this deck. I really want to see it go off. I don't have a lot of time to play Magic. And then you got somebody that's like, well, I'm going to hold on to counters because I know that that's what you're trying to do. Yeah. And I'm not going to let it resolve. And it's like, hey, this would be like, it's a 7-card combo. And you get to the 6th one. And it's like, hey, man, there's no chance of this happening ever again. I just want to see it happen. And that person goes, no. And that's it,
Yeah.
To them, I just think that, I don't know, the denial of fun is what makes me a little salty. I think there's something to be said for the fact that, yes, Magic is inherently competitive. You are trying to win. But redefining what a win is means that you can also include others in your win. I think that personally, when I play Magic with a bunch of friends, sometimes it is funny to do something like that because you're clowning on your friend.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
sometimes it's really funny to do that.
Sometimes it's the funniest thing you can do. But at the same time, it's even funnier to do all that. Like, here's my counter spell, and then no, here's a counter spell countering my counter spell, go off. You know what I mean?
Gates wide open.
Right. I think it's just so much more fun to see something cool happen in the game. The game is designed to be so streamlined in when it came to standard. We're trying to figure out all these cards. We're trying to get to a game plan. Commander is literally the format where you get to have 99 cards plus your one guy that you don't know when they're coming. And you don't it's just a bigger puzzle and you don't know what pieces are going to go where. And every time should look different to me. So I'll say that leads me to my second thing. Tutors. I hate tutors, man.
Ooh.
If you're not tutoring a land to the battlefield, or you're not tutoring if you are tutoring up a secret commander, fine. If you're tutoring up something that you're like, this is my jank thing, I wanted to do the hats theme a long time ago, but this commander is only in blue, red, and I wanted like 4 colors. Sick. You know what? Personally, I'll tell you, just run that in the command zone and pretend it's the cost of your commander. Who cares? Let's have fun with this. Let's enjoy ourselves, right? But if somebody's like, I have an answer for this, time to go get that answer with one of the 4 cards in my hand that can be any other card. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Why do you need this so badly?
Oh man, I fucking love tutors.
I feel like they go against the spirit of Commander. I feel like it goes against the spirit of Commander. Frankly, personally, I think the fact that it can be literally like, for the most part, people aren't playing tutors that aren't flexible, right? If they're playing a tutor, they're usually going, especially in black, they're going for something that's going to get them exactly what they need, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I've got to look, I'm not even fucking front. I've got a beautiful demonic tutor somewhere in my collection that is like, looks fantastic. Is it ever going to see a deck? No goddamn way. I'm never,
That's interesting.
I don't play CEDH. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I feel like I felt that way until I had all of the cheap, really nice tutors. And now I want to put them in every fucking deck.
I came around the other way. I came the other way from it. I have all the tutors in my staple binder. I've just taken them out one by one.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's valid to be like, I want more variance in my experience. So I'm going to take that out. And like, we have certain decks that will run tutors and certain decks that won't. And to defend Tony, you're pretty adamant about like, if you do have a tutor, you don't tutor for the same thing every game. Like you've said that a bunch of times because it gets really boring. Whereas I 100% have a deck where every single time I tutor up my fucking General's Enforcer because it makes my legendary creatures indestructible. And then the deck sings and it's great.
Why? Because you played Joda the Unifier?
No, I'm playing a like really janky Alesha human deck. So it's all like legendary humans. So it's like, it's pretty limited in what it actually does. But so we're all CDH players too. So
on the side, we do a bit of
like
both.
your bread and butter.
No, I mean, in that format, it makes sense to have tutors.
Exactly.
The whole point is to play to the utmost of your ability. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have a game plan. CDH is the closest we're going to get to like those standard or modern naming conventions. Like you're throwing around Blue Farm. I'm like, cool. What the fuck is that? Like, like what tell me the first time you heard Cawblade, you weren't like, okay, somebody please tell me what this means. It is
still don't
interesting.
Know what it means.
I'll say I'm kind of thinking that right now, actually.
it's well, I don't really know anymore, but it was like a modern deck with Stoneforge Mystic and you tuned up the sword and put it on a bird and went swinging like it.
Yeah.
And I think it was Squadron Hawk, so you got like all your birds at once. Anyway, I think that in CDH, tutors are where it's at. Like obviously, if I were to play a deck in CDH, if it could get away without tutors, I would prefer it. But current meta, there's absolutely no way. There's no way to play a CDH deck without tutors and still be a threat at the table.
Mono red could probably do it if anything.
There's like some stormy shit. Yeah, mono red maybe.
What's Slicer? Literally Slicer. Like that's what I'm
thinking. I mean, Slicer's hilarious. Slicer's hilarious.
Yeah, you don't need tutors in Slicer.
Of all of those Transformer cards, man, did not expect the mono red everybody gets a turn guy to be the one that takes off.
To be like breaking the format.
Oh yeah, I thought it was gonna be Megatron, the one that gives you so much mana all the time. But man, Slicer, just to hear Tomer talk about it on MTG Goldfish too, he's like, no, people keep killing me. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're killing everybody.
Yeah, it's just like what it does.
Which leads me to my third thing that makes me salty is incorrect threat assessment. I think if somebody
Amen, brother.
Dude.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck
If somebody
those people.
can't properly do threat assessment and plays like spitefully, like here's the thing. If I'm playing spitefully, I'm announcing it. Okay. I'll play a shitty deck and I'll put something out there and I'll be like, if anybody removes this chromatic lantern, I am gonna fuck you up. Full stop. I am not playing properly. This is a new side game, and I hope that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're like, sure. And I'll be like, great. And then my buddy Chris decides to test me. And I'm like, well, Chris, you're the idiot. And I hope you don't like all your artifacts because they're gone now. You know, like, so yes, I'm a hypocrite in that I think spite plays are ridiculous, but at the same time, if you don't make good on a threat, then nobody's going to take you serious.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to do
Here
it
for that.
I do hate that when you get sideswiped in a game. Like, hey, I've been trying to rebuild my board after 4 board wipes. I'm a creature-based deck, and I know I can get out of hand if I have like the proper tools. I play a black market connections to hopefully draw me into something next turn, and that's all I can play my turn because I've been fucked over so much the entire time. Meanwhile, the Nath player has been screwing with our hands and killing everybody. So maybe we should focus on him. But the Thalys player is like, no, I'm gonna swing at you because you've got like 14 life.
Yeah, you're about to pop off of that black market connection. So
Yeah, you can only
actually
pay
get
for
fucked.
once. Yeah. Hey, bring me down to 6 and then give me an interesting choice to make. You know, how about that? Like, give me that. I would respect the hell out of that. But no, it's like, oh, I'm gonna send all my spirits at you, and then I'm wide open for the for the discard guy.
Nothing bugs me more than bad threat assessment or just being like kicked over and over again when I'm already down. It's like I'm literally doing nothing, and people are like, "Well, Sam's got Alesha out. We should probably attack him." I'm like, "No, I have 3 lands in my hand. You don't need to be doing this." I'm like referencing a specific game that happened like a month ago that I'm still salty about.
I feel that. You ever just reveal your hand to be like, look,
Definitely
don't touch me.
Like,
you
please
know,
stop.
I feel like that's usually it's like an hour and 45 minutes in when that starts happening, but people are just like,
Yeah.
I got nothing. Like, can
the
we just
desperation play.
Yeah.
Like, please
an
free
hour
me
and
from
45
this
minutes in? Hell no. I'm doing that 40 minutes in.
game.
If I don't have plays and I'm nearing an hour and somebody's like still focusing on me, I'm like, hey, guess what? Don't do this. Like, I played against, and this is a friend, and I care, I love him very much. If you're listening, I want you to know I don't hate you for this, but
Sam, edit that part out.
I'll edit it so you just said, I hate you for
hate
this.
Yeah. Nice. Yes. Perfect. I accept the terms. This one guy in my online play group with pals from all over, we were playing a 4-pod with one of my buddies who's like a newcomer to Commander. So he's brand new to Commander. Another one who's like seasoned, but playing a very, like, when I say jank, like it is jank. It is goofy boy jank time. And then I'm playing one that I haven't like quite figured out. I'm just like, I pulled a bunch of stuff that I had lying around, but I have, you know, I'm trying out this deck. We'll see how it works out. But I know what I'm doing with it. So I'm fine. You know what I mean? But this guy's playing Alesha Slivers.
Oh,
and
man.
He plays 3 slivers and we kill them. And then he goes, come on, guys, what the hell? And we're like, you're playing slivers.
Yeah. I know how this goes.
Yeah. And then I get my shit blown up by the other 2 players. And I'm like, that's fair. And then he plays like another sliver and Alesha with haste and swings and activates. And then somebody removes the sliver that's giving us the most trouble. And he's like, I can't do anything. And I'm like, you just got rid of the Ozolith in my counter deck right now. Like when it was stacked with everything, Anyway, whole thing.
Oh man, I love those little like petty complaints. They're so funny.
But those are things that get me riled up, I'll say.
And so, Mike, I think we had a couple other questions. What do you have here for us, bud?
Yeah, so as a connoisseur of salt, we figured we get an extra chance to ask you some questions that not everyone else would be like equipped to answer correctly.
So that was scripted, folks.
Yeah, that was extremely scripted, and there were in fact.
I'm ready.
What are like some common trends that you see on write-ins that you think are common salty nuggets that people experience?
Whenever people play in 3-player pods, they get upset.
Yep.
That's very common.
Yes.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know what pub stomping means. Let's see. I kind of want to go through the archives.
Pub stompers writing in not knowing what pub stomping means, or the average user?
No. It's a lot of people being like, so I went to this LGS and this guy was totally pub stomping. And he just like, it was so hard to play again, and I got mad and I left. Am I the Bolas? And I'm like,
kinda.
How'd you like you're I can't run this article. I can't.
Yeah. It's like you just lost in a game and got really salty about it. Like you didn't get pub stomped. That we see a bunch like that too, where it's like, is this guy? Am I pub stomping if I'm doing this? It's like, no, you're just playing a good deck, and like your friends are playing bad decks, and maybe there's a problem there, but you're not pub stomping.
I think the other thing is a lot of people are, how do I put this? A lot of people are kind of afraid to win when they're on the casual side.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
A lot of stuff I'll get is like, I played this deck and I built this deck to be like kind of like slower, but I keep winning against my play group, or this guy keeps winning against us and we don't really know how to ask him to power down and stuff like that. So that'll come up. And to me, what that means is like, you're not having this conversation with them.
Yeah.
First of all, here's a blanket statement for Am I the Bolas? If this is a play group question and you have a regular play group, the answer I'm going to give you is talk to each other. How about that? How about a little bit of communication?
Well, that's perfect.
Right.
My next question was going to be, what's some advice you find yourself frequently offering to salty players?
If you're a play group, talk to your play group.
Communicate with the other humans that you're interacting with.
Right. The trouble becomes when somebody writes in and they're like, I went to my LGS and here's the story and it's from my side only. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to ask more questions. And usually they're like, well, I said this, but I kind of meant more like this. And I'm like, aha. So that changes things entirely. And so I'm going to write it up with this new information. Thank you so much. But when people go to an LGS and they play with people they don't know, there's been a lot of advocating for this rule 0 kind of conversation. And that's why people go, oh, my deck's a 7. But instead, what I want you to do is have a conversation being like, my deck is designed to dirtle. I don't like going off per se, but it will happen if it gets there in 15 turns.
Yeah.
And if the person across from you is like, I play to win turn 3 combo, then you guys decide whether or not you want to play that game.
Yeah.
But they also have to identify if you're running Stoic Angel too.
Yeah, you always got to shout out if you're running Stoic Angel.
I can't believe you brought that up again. I can't believe you just did that, man.
I think a lot of people want to adopt the rule 0 conversation, but I think a lot of people also fuck it up very frequently.
Yeah, they kind of don't know how.
We've had some stories come in where people were, finished a game with some kind of card, some sort of innocuous card, and somebody was like, why didn't you say that you're running that in the rule 0 conversation? It's like, dude, the rule 0 conversation isn't me listing off every fucking card in my deck.
Right.
So you can tell me whether you enjoy every 100 card that I'm playing. Like it's, it's got to have a balance, and it's not going to be perfect, but as long as you're making the effort to have some kind of conversation to tune in the experience you want, I think it's good. Like some things like, turn you're trying to win on, general strategies, like that kind of stuff can get you pretty close.
Whenever I play my Savine the Chronoclasm deck, I introduce it as Brash Taunter's deck, right? Hey, I've got all the Brash Taunters I can fit in here and a bunch of clones. And the idea is that I deal damage to them and deal damage wasteboard wipes.
Yep.
And I wrap up the game by sending that damage elsewhere. And that's the whole plan, right? Savine's the commander because if I cast it from my graveyard, Savine doesn't take any damage and I get 2 of them. How does that sound like fine? And usually people are like, that sounds very silly. Actually, let's see how it works. But this one time, literally won the game with this play. I cast Star of Extinction from my graveyard after like frantic searching it in there and then playing it from my graveyard. And somebody was like, I didn't realize you were playing land destruction. Kind of a dick move to not mention that. And I was like, okay. Like I don't there are some circumstances where I think it's just unfair to like have a conversation with somebody because they're at such a deficit mentally. Because I've laid out my deck. I told you I'm playing a bunch of damage based board wipes. Easily the one that deals the most damage is Star of Extinction. It deals 20 damage to each creature. It just also happens to have the text destroy target land. Guess what? If you could give your land hexproof, that wouldn't have been resolved, and that would have been a pretty cool play on your part, you know? But it says destroy target land.
It is one land.
Yeah.
Like, it's a single
I was
land.
say, it is one land,
It's
right?
a single land. It
Man,
costs
you're
7
a
mana.
dick. I can't
It
believe
costs
this.
7 mana.
Yeah.
It's a
Can't
single
believe
land.
you've done this.
And then guess what? I picked 2 of my own lands.
Man.
I picked 2 of my own lands for
Oh
the
my
spell.
God.
And
That's a real pub stomper there, just flexing on them, choosing your own lands.
I had it locked up. Everybody was tapped out. I had 3 indestructible stuffy dolls out, and I was like, okay, I'm going for it. Like cast it, like frantic search, cast from the graveyard, target 2 of my lands, and that's game. Everybody loses at once.
Yeah.
But I got the you know what? I can't play with you. It was like so disingenuous for
Oh
you to
my
say that your
God.
deck doesn't
Insane.
run any, land destruction or any tutors or anything, and yet here you are. You've got land destruction in your deck. I'm really upset with you right now, and I have to be like, you know what, dude? Cool. I hope you stay upset at me, and we just don't have a chat again because I can't have that conversation with a person like that. It's so hard to look somebody in the eye and be like, I'm so sorry that you misunderstand what this is.
Yeah, sometimes you got to hit people with like I'm sorry you feel bad about this. You know?
I'm sorry your grasp of reality is weak.
Yeah.
And you just got to tell people like we give out a lot of advice. Sometimes you just have to tell people to get good. And that is truly the only. They'll be like, hey, it sounds like you just kind of suck and you got to get good.
To me,
usually we don't read those ones in the show, but
right.
It's a Tony special that usually gets
that's a
edited
Tony
out.
special that he gives.
Toss it on the Patreon. The Patreon is just Tony going, this scrub wrote in, get good, suck it, dude. Anyway, this one comes in from Dominic, and he says, I lost. Oh, you lost. Get good, dude. Suck it.
Tony's just going through like 20 questions per episode.
That would be an incredible segment.
That would be really funny. Sounds like you played like trash, dude. Get good. On to the next one.
Eat it.
Well, shall we jump into it, guys? Want to cook into our first question here?
For sure.
Yeah.
Sweet. So let's dip in. Going to be talking about some salty stories here, talking about some salt and seeing what we get. Tony, you're not going to ask me what salt is? Mike, do you want to ask me?
What's salt? No, it's my role. Fuck. What's salt, Sam?
Salt is when, your highly trained coworker on your podcast
Fuck you.
forgets his role.
Gets his one line.
Forgets his one line. No, I'm just teasing. I feel like we've defined salt pretty damn well for the listeners at home. So
exactly.
We also just talked about it for about an hour.
Exactly. Yeah, if you really want to know what salt is, just, get another device, borrow your girlfriend's phone, your boyfriend's phone, your parents' phone, re-download this episode on every device. Give us a 5-star rating and just listen to that intro again, and you'll be reminded of what salt is.
So you're just going to tell them to like pause, go back, listen to the beginning episode, and then.
But why not listen on a new device and pump up our numbers, Tony?
Sure.
Gotta get those downloads, man.
Doing a whole drift.
Exactly. Alrighty. So this first one comes to us from a Reddit user. We are back in our wheelhouse with Reddit. And the username is Toptia by accident. So if you guys see Toptia by accident on the subreddits, give them an upvote. You know the drill. Spread that goodwill. And apologies to everybody who has called me out for not saying that a lot on the podcast, which has been like a lot more people than you'd think.
More than zero.
Yeah. Yeah, more than zero, more than like 5. So
I need the rhyme.
exactly. They need the rhyme. The rhyme really gets you in the mood for the question.
Does it?
So this post is titled, "Is it proper etiquette to warn about your impending infinite combo?" And the post goes, Tatiova Benthic Druid and Krenko Mob Boss are decks of mine that revolve around infinite combos. And when I'm about to win, I always let people know, hey, I'm about to win this turn. Should I do this and or explain what I'm about to do? Or is it my opponent's fault for not recognizing my board state? Nice and quick one here.
That's an interesting one. I think
this.
Yeah, I love this too, because I think this player is choosing like the one time that it's slightly wrong to say that you're going to win with an infinite combo. I think you say it when you're starting like your rule 0. And I think you say it when you're putting the piece that finishes it like on the stack. You can say like, this piece is going to be able to let me do some stuff. And you can say it way in advance, but you don't need to say it like in your upkeep, like, I'm about to do it, guys. There's no reason to do that.
The steps of a turn are untap, upkeep, draw. Before main phase, you have to verify if you have an infinite combo in hand. If you do, announce it. Main phase.
I completely agree with you, Mike. It's something that you say when that last piece comes down. And truthfully, I only say it if no one at the board immediately picks up on it. Generally speaking, if you're assembling an infinite combo, it's kind of obvious. Or, unless it has like 6 pieces or something like that, and it's super janky. But usually, like, if you have Krenko coming down and you have some kind of like untapper and haste effect on board, and you're going to go super wide with a million goblins, or you're doing some kind of Kiki-Jiki combo, like the red flags are there and they are waving in the wind, But if someone doesn't pick up on it, I will say, like, this is your moment to interact because I'm about to pop off here, Yeah. We actually even do that in CDH sometimes.
I don't anymore.
Oh, no, in CDH.
Mostly the other people at the table will do it, and we'll kind of pause and be like, is this a final combo piece, and talk through it,
right,
and then assess whether or not we need to do it. So it's a little bit built in just from like the opponents.
Personally, I feel like CDH is the last place for this.
Yeah.
We've gotten better at like literally every trigger that goes on the stack. We start being like, wait, what is like happening?
We start getting real suspicious.
Yeah, like if somebody does more than 2 actions, it's like, okay, wait, that's on the stack, and then everybody else starts talking about it. But I don't think anybody's announcing what's about to happen right now.
Wait a minute, a second card. Hold on a second. Does anybody have something for this?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Though I think it almost depends on like how much of a Rue Goldberg it is.
Yeah,
the obvious combos I don't think anybody really announces, but it is this sort of game of, all right, I've got these like 7 things out, and when I do this does that, which makes this do this. And then like the further into it you start to get somebody, I feel like that's when it's like more kosher to be like, okay, this is about to continue. Like once you demonstrate the loop once, almost, it's kind of like, okay, now I can keep doing this.
Yep.
Unless somebody wants to like do something about it. And if not, fuck off, I'm going to win.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more nuance to this. Like you're mentioning Tatiova, Benthic Druid, and what was the other deck?
Krenko Mob Boss.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got 2 decks that are pretty solid, like very value-based commanders. Krenko itself is already a combo piece. It's just like, personally, I think in the rule zero conversation, you can mention I run infinites to end the game.
Yep.
Do you have to go through what the infinites are? I don't think so. I don't think that's necessary. I think that we're all playing the game and that's it. And I feel like if I don't see what you're playing as something that can win you the game when it hits the board, then that's also a learning opportunity for me. I think that that's also part of what makes Magic fun, is that, like, hey man, you're going to lose and you're going to lose a lot, but then you learn something from the game. And that's a huge piece of what I enjoy about Magic, is that I'm seeing new things to me that then, oh, cool. That's how that works. It's another thing that if I'm playing Kiki Jiki and then immediately I've got the Pestermite combo, like one after the other, I'm like, that's a cheap win, but it's a win. You know what I mean? It kind of sucks, but now I know that I can't let you resolve Kiki Jiki, or maybe I read Pestermite while it's on the stack and want to do something about it. Or maybe I've got instant speed removal to kill the Pestermite before Kiki can get, another copy,
Yeah, one of my favorite like learning moments with infinite combos is when you realize that certain combos need to be interacted with at specific moments. Like where you're saying, like, Pestermite's on the stack, Kiki Jiki's being cast, something along those lines. Maybe even you let the Pestermite land and you're interacting with that ETB effect, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna fuck it up now. And you can kind of pick your moment, and sometimes you fuck it up and you miss your moment and the combo goes off and you learn. And other times you get it, and like, if you hit that moment right, sometimes you can do it where the person comboing off thinks that they still have it, and you're like, oh yeah, the Pestermite resolves, and they're like, oh really? All right, okay, I activate Kiki, and you're like, with that on the stack, and then you do something. I love that shit.
So do I. I also think that there's some value in combos that aren't necessarily infinite per se. Like, they are in that, like, you can keep a loop going. But, like, okay, for instance, the first build of Aminatu, the Fate Shifter was it had a Mills sub theme, and I had Altar of the Brood out and Felidar Guardian and Aminatu, and so I just was blinking Aminatu and Felidar Guardian. A lot of the other players didn't have anything for it, but my buddy Sean, after the rest of the rest of the group was pretty much milled out, he still had like a solid chunk of deck to him because he played like an Echo of Eons or something. And he was like, well, okay, so they're all milled out. Well, now I'm going to kill Felidar Guardian.
Yeah, that's the
and
best.
It's like, oh, you made me do your dirty work. I'm here thinking I'm here thinking like I've got this on lock, and he's like, nah, dude.
It's kind of like when you are playing CDH for the first time and fuck blue because it's a trash color for trash players. And so you're the only one at the table not running it, and you have no counters, and you play Anya Falconwrath, and then you get the World Gorger Dragon, and it finally lands, and you're like, I'm going to fucking win. No one's got any counters, and I'm feeling spicy as fuck.
World Gorger's resolving? Oh my God, I'm in business.
It literally hits, and I'm like the happiest I've ever been. And then Nick pulls out a fucking vapor snag or whatever the fuck
there
it was.
There are so few combos that give me more joy to stop than a World Gorger Dragon combo, because you can just totally fuck someone's board where they have literally nothing. Absolutely, like. And that's why you retired that deck, Tony, because he was playing this Anya deck, makes infinite mana, does a bunch of shit with it. And for like 3 games in a row, we would fucking nuke the World Gorger Dragon while Tony's entire board was bounced. And then it was like, well, it's gone.
Well, exactly. And I think that's such a beautiful learning moment too for everybody. Even if like you're playing with 2 other players who don't see why that's a blowout.
Yeah.
You get to teach them that thing. And I think that that's fun. So you demonstrate. So back to the question, like I think that like if I'm sitting down with Tony and you're on your deck, right, and you're like, I play World Gorger combo, I'm like, sick, I know what that is, but also I know that the second you throw World Gorger in the graveyard, I've got to be careful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'm about to learn something. I'm about to see something so cool. it's crazy to me that. Oh, and another thing besides tutors, I don't really fuck with counters. I like play maybe 2, and that's because there's
Same.
like another effect stapled to them, like
Preach.
Mystic Confluence, and I play Sublime Epiphany in my clones deck.
Nice.
But I'll say, I think it's just so cool to see something go off. Like we spend so much time thinking about what our decks can do, and then somebody plays something that you've never seen before. And you're like, man, that's so sick. I'm glad that I got to see it. I'm glad that I didn't come up with it. I'm glad I got to experience this. Like to me, that's the fun of this game. Like I lose so many games. It's so much fun.
Our Mike does too.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, we track all our games, and Mike is the losingest player.
Hell yeah, dude.
And least salty, so take that with
Yeah, and I'm
a grain of salt.
Tony and I are the saltiest players, and we win the most. So.
No, there's only one of us that's the saltiest. There's one person on the top of that list.
How do you calculate that?
Oh, so every game that we play, we track all the stats, and we have it like pull into this large table. It's been a while since we talked about the table. So
Do you guys go to school for math or something?
yeah, we're all
We
engineers.
actually did, yeah.
Okay. I have a theater degree that I use
Hey.
sparingly.
So we have this huge table, and we've been tracking games for like, we play like a couple games every week, and we've been tracking
Nice.
games for maybe 2 or 3 years now, or something.
2.5,
So,
I think.
2.5. So we got a lot of games in there, and we break it between casual EDH and then CDH. And every game at the end, we vote for who was the saltiest baby.
Okay.
And usually
That's
it's
fun.
pretty obvious because somebody like had a moment.
Okay.
And occasionally we award it to 2 people, and then that all gets pulled into
I see.
a percentage stat. So when we first kicked it off, just kind of why we started the podcast was because we talked about salt a lot, and we would like see these funny posts online about people getting salty, and we were like, this could be something. And I am and was the saltiest baby for a long time. And I used to be, I think it was 21% was my
You were.
worst amount.
Your highest percentage of salt.
It was pretty bad. Like
Salty
one
in
in
a fifth of games.
Yeah, 1 in 5
Nice.
games I would like rage. And now I'm down to 14. So it's pretty good.
a
I'll tell
recovering
you what.
addict.
I think if I were to be considered in the salty scale, I feel like I would take a lot of them because I do a lot of loud bits where I'm pretending to be mad, where I'm like, no, but they're forced on the field. It's a tap. You gotta get that, And it's like they're targeting my smothering tithe, and it's 2 copies I made, But I'm like, it's like obviously I know it's right to fucking kill my shit, but like, I'm like, come on, please. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's what gets me mad because Sam is good at that, and he always does that, and it always winds up rebounding onto my shit. And I'm like,
and Tony thinks
fucking
it's
annoyed.
people think it's real, and then like actually don't target Sam for some
Yeah.
reason.
I'm
That's
pretty good at
wild.
that.
No, that's why you gotta ham it up like a literal baby. That's how you gotta do it.
Wah.
It's this thing where Tony will be like, Sam's just doing that thing again. And I'll be like, and you're just doing the thing you always do, which is deflect off your own board. And Mike and Nick will be like, yeah, does make a good point.
That does sound like Tony.
Fucking
Uh,
worst.
It's just this like back and
Yeah,
forth kind
I
of thing.
get it. I'm with you, but also the second somebody like after all that, I go like, no, that's fair. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to admit when somebody's right, they're right. Like
Yeah,
I will-
you're supposed to do that, but Sam won't.
I'll admit it like 3 months later. I'll be like, yeah, you were right about that.
you know what? You know what's really satisfying is when you put something that looks innocuous and like your opponents don't know your deck, but one of them's kind of like, I don't know, something about this I don't like. I'm gonna get rid of that general's regalia, and and then I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Well, that was great, and then I flash volcano Helion, and I'm like, would have killed me. So there we go.
Yeah, that is the best.
So
Yeah.
circling back to the post here, what's the Saul rating?
I'm gonna say I don't think this is a salt situation. I feel like this is somebody inquiring about how to properly play Magic with people. I think this is like, I love these kind of questions because it's somebody who wants to take the care, who wants to put care into their game, who wants to put care into their interactions with other people and make sure that they're having a pleasant experience no matter what. Like, you know, they're doing their best, right?
Well
so I don't
said.
feel like this is a moment where they're salty. So I don't think that this I'm gonna go with a big fat 0 on the salt scale.
I think they're just a scrub who needs to get good and learn how to, fucking not tell people when you're gonna win.
Think of how many wins they're giving up by not sneaking those infinite combos in, you know?
Edit in some explosion sounds and an air guitar. Edit in the sound of an air guitar solo, specifically air guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I don't think there's really any salt here. To answer the question, is it proper etiquette to warn about your impending infinite combo? I would say yes, but it depends on the power level you're playing at. CDH, you probably don't want to do that. And it depends on when you're warning people. Give people a chance to like read your stuff and pick up on it. And if no one's really picking up on it, it's probably worth saying like, hey, I'm about to pop off right now. This is your moment to stop me if you can.
I'm about to pop off. It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And it's it triggers alarm bells, but not in a big offensive way. It's not like I'm about to win. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I agree. This is extremely low salt. This is so low salt that it's someone actively formulating the low sodium recipe, So
they we're in the aisle and they're like, I'm going to take the low sodium chicken stock.
Yeah.
I don't need the extra salt.
Exactly.
Gotta watch the cholesterol.
Yeah.
Just live for it, As an environmental engineer, just have the sodium. We have so precious few years left on this floating rock.
Oh yeah, dude.
And
Somebody get me a Pepsi.
Somebody get me a Pepsi.
All right, man. Let's move on to our next question.
Let's.
So this next one comes to us from Gmail. This is one of our listeners.
Nice.
And this comes to us from Uncle Stern. If you guys see Uncle Stern ever in Gmail, give him email. Fuck. Spread the goodwill, guys. You know the drill. I'm just trying to beat it in now that I've been chastised so many times. And the post goes, I don't remember much about that game. It was all a fog. All I know is a line was crossed and I did the crossing. I was playing Xander the Collector, a regular saltsmith on his own. But in my deck, he was damn near impotent. I couldn't muster the board state to cast him. I was spinning my wheels, looking for a way to push ahead as the table passed by me turn after turn out of pity. I couldn't take it. I did the unthinkable. I countered an opponent's soul ring. He didn't need the mana. His playmat was brimming with land. But wait, the story is just getting started. He was dumbfounded and said, all right, then, if that's how we're playing, I'm going to destroy your soul ring. I needed the 1-drop mana lifeline if Xander was ever going to make an appearance in my next turn, and I was tapped out. So I played my ace. I force of willed his removal spell. And what blue card did I exile to pay for it? A mana drain. My deck had more counters than a Home Depot during their kitchen and bathroom promos. The rest of the match is a fog, and I'm sure I was the first to die in that game, but this particular back and forth has been firmly cemented in the histories of our play group. Am I lucky to have friends? Should I seek therapy?
Yes and yes. Fuck blue.
Yes to the second one, just because generally, yeah, sure.
Yeah, therapy is just a good thing for everybody. So it's probably a good thing to hit up.
But you're definitely lucky to have friends after having 3 counters in a hand. I also love that we kind of have this little insight into this player keeping a hand that can't get anything done, but has 3 counter spells in it.
He's set out in that game to fuck his friends over. He's like, well, I can stop anything, so it's fine.
Yeah, man. This is Mike. This is what we call a salty confessional. This is classic. Somebody was wicked salty, made some bogus plays, and it's just trying to come clean before the council here.
Look, man, I know he's a listener, but you dipshit. What a dumb. You said this guy's playmat was brimming with lands. Let him have the soul ring and save your garbage. I'm sorry. If a player's got 10 lands and plays a soul ring, I'm like, oh, he didn't need that. But guess what? It doesn't do anything. Like, it's not something that they're going to get so much out of. If you counter a soul ring, it better be within the first 4 turns. Unless it's a deck that's like trying to copy artifacts for something or other, and soul ring helps do that, or I don't know, something very specific.
Or do the turn 1 counter on a soul ring. Mental misstep on a soul ring feels like sex is cool, but have you ever mental misstep the soul ring on turn 1?
I have not, because I don't play counters or CDH, but I will say
it's fucking good.
it's so silly to me. First of all, I get that would feel good, and also like that player kept the hand with the soul ring in it because the soul ring was in it, for sure.
Exactly.
But like, man, this you've got 3 counters in hand. You're countering one with he didn't even say what counter it was.
Some sort of counter.
It was counter, and you pitch a mana drain to a force of will to keep. Hey, guess what? What it would have cost you to keep your soul ring had you not countered the other guy's soul ring? Nothing. You would have let this guy have a soul ring and cast maybe, I don't know,
the mana drain. Get enough mana to cast your commander that you're struggling to get out.
Do you know how silly you have to be? Dude, you know what? You have a mana drain in hand. Hold on a second. First of all, mana drain, I hate it, but you have it in first. You have a mana drain in hand. This guy's got 10 plus lands in play, plays a soul ring. You don't think he's gonna follow it up with something huge?
Some huge bomb.
Hit that with the mana drain. Then he destroys your soul ring, and then guess what? I don't know. I have 9 mana coming for me next turn.
Exactly.
I think I'm good. And then because he hit your soul ring, you have the excuse of being like, well, Xander enters, and I wonder who I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, who am I gonna go for? I will say though, I've definitely been in the position of Uncle Stern here. Not with this exactly, but I've been in a position where I'm doing so little in a game that I'm like, can I just do fucking anything? And I think also sometimes there's this thing that happens with counter spells. I think I've talked about this on a previous episode, but there's this thing that happens with counter spells when you have nothing else to do. They start burning a hole in your pocket, and you're like, I'm just going to counter fucking something. So you could just do anything and have any effect on the game. So, I don't condone it, but I do see where they're coming from with this. But it sounds like you fucked around and you found out pretty hard.
When you're a guy that's playing all these counters, right? You're somebody who's packing hella counter spells in your deck, right? You've got to have discipline, my guy.
Yeah.
Like I get that you want to do something in the game. Guess what? You're in a position where that's not happening yet. You're going to make yourself known soon enough.
Yeah, you got to wait for that perfect moment with a counter.
Countering a soul ring is just so silly. That late, that developed. I can't believe you did that. Why?
It's
Why
not
would
even
you
a
do
good mana drain target. You're just getting 1 mana off it,
Well, that's why he exiled the mana drain. I bet he played counter spell. I bet he played counter spell as the first one. OG counter spell. Underpowered mana drain.
Oh man. This is just it's salty, man. There's some fucking salt in this one,
Yeah,
if I had this much salt in my popcorn, I'd send it back. I'm not eating this.
Yeah.
Talk about the ultimate feud starter. Removing somebody's soul ring, fucking with somebody's soul ring is like, in a casual game, it's like kicking dirt into their face.
Yeah.
It's like a sacred thing. It's like, you don't mess with the soul ring.
Yeah, for sure.
I was lucky enough to get it. Don't fuck with it. And it just opens you up. You got to be ready for what is to come. And it sounds like,
he was.
Sounds like Uncle Stern knew. knew that it was coming. And
Yeah,
that
but
is
tell
gonna be
me
pretty bad.
tell me that anybody else at that table considered him a threat past that point.
Yeah.
You just dumped 3 counter spells. What could you have?
Yeah, I know. It's like what could have even been in that hand? And at that point, when you see 3 counters go by, it's like, all right, well,
Yeah, you've also exposed the
good
fact
now.
that you need this soul ring. Anybody that's more competitive, like the next player is going to destroy that soul ring, and that's you're going to scoop. Sorry, Uncle Stern. I know you're a listener and stuff, and I'm coming at you, but I think I'm right.
So what do we
man.
think? What do we think about the salt rating here?
Ooh, oh, it's so salty. It's just like pure. It's a full shaker. This is a full shaker situation. You've overfilled the shaker, in fact, and you're just like trying to screw it on, and it's like grindy and like, feels like there's like sand in there. It's just uncomfortable all around for everybody. It's a packed shaker for sure.
Love that.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm agreeing.
And thirded.
Fourth did.
Yeah, fourth did.
Oh yeah, dude. Use that math degree.
Well, do we have time for one more, guys, or should we? What do we think? Mike's our timekeeper.
We're well beyond the boundaries of the Pride lands at this point.
We should probably just move into
The salty card.
Let's
the
do
time
it.
of the week.
So it's that time of the week, you're saying, Mike?
Yeah, I am.
What is that time of the week, though? Do you know, Sam?
Yeah, it's the time of the week that comes every week.
Are you sure it's every week?
Hold on, let me check.
Pulls up outline, actively looks at the log of the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I did check, and it does come every week.
Nice.
It's
When diving.
it's the time of the week where we say it's the time of the week where we say, Mike, what's the salty card of the week?
I'm glad you finally figured out what time of the week it was, Sam, because I was getting confused there. The salty card.
Batman.
I was just
Wow.
saying Batman. Didn't even say salty
Tony
card.
with the interrupt.
Well, I did it because he's wearing the Batman shirt. It popped into my head, and I was feeling it instantly.
This is why I sing the songs every week. Tony.
The listeners cannot see the shirt.
Well, they
well,
feel the shirt.
Not
now,
even
though.
Salt Man. Not even salty card.
Oh,
I wish I had this card
I
to
wish
deal
I
with
said
all the
salt,
bullshit
man.
you guys are
Oh
doing.
boy.
Because the salty card of the week this week, we've already heard it a little bit. It's Mana Drain.
oh,
Oh, God.
Oh, nice.
well.
Okay, great.
So
Interesting. Okay.
kick us off, Mike. What do you think about Mana Drain?
Wait, well, read the card.
Oh my
You
God,
gotta
I'm
read
sorry.
the card.
What a fucking scrub!
Get
So,
good.
How did you even get this job?
We've only recorded 36 episodes of this show.
Mm.
All right. So Mana Drain is 2 blue for an instant. It says counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colorless mana equal to that spell's mana value.
Right.
So yeah, Mike,
Simple.
does this one how do you feel about this card?
I don't like counters in general, right? So I'm not stoked to see it. I'm not gonna play it. That's for sure. It's not me. It's not my thing.
Mhm.
I have a beautiful full art foil double masters 2022 mana drain sitting in a binder next to the Commander Legends one. Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I have copies of this card. They're not gonna get played by me. Not for unless I do CDH, which I don't think I will. I think it's super powerful. I think it's great against a player who's playing big cards very cockily. Like, I think that's fantastic. You can get, even if you just like mana drain something for 2 mana, that's just like your first spell costs 2 less. You know, if you're going to play a counter spell, you might as well make it mana drain. But I don't care for them. So I'm not stoked when I see it, but I understand why it's there.
Mhm. Fair enough. Tony, how do you feel about Mana Drain?
Here we go.
Well, blue is a trash color for trash people. We all know this to be true. I fucking hate this card because it just feels worse than other counters. I'm looking at this from the perspective of being countered because
Yeah, of course.
like
Right.
you
Same.
play a thing finally and then some dick counters it. And in CBH, it might be something that's just fucking 2 mana. And you're like, come on, like give me something. I'm running fucking S tier Selvala, but she doesn't have an answer for the mana drain, which is a problem.
Let me ask you this. What do you hate more, mana drain, force of will, or fierce guardianship?
Ooh. Well, we've covered Fierce Guardianship already one
Yeah.
time on the
Tune into our Magic 30 episode, I think, when we talked
Was
about
it real?
that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was at Magic
You're
30.
on it. You're on it, Sam.
Nice.
Yeah. Free shit is dumb.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Free shit is a little more dumb.
I would rather see somebody hold up 2 mana,
Mhm.
and then if I play into it, I know, hey, hold on a second, I'm tapping 2 mana. I'll be like, here comes a counter spell.
yeah, 2
then
blue
it's mana
is
drain.
like a sign, you know?
Yeah.
You know it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, that's okay. That's on me. I should have foreseen
Mm-hmm.
the mana
Yeah,
drain.
but
Or
why
maybe
can't it
you're
be Arcane
goading it.
Denial and I get to draw at the beginning of their next upkeep? No, they just get more fucking mana at their upkeep. Like,
Yeah, well,
All right, let me say how I feel about this.
Yeah.
'cause
How
I
do you
got some
feel?
salt,
How do you
too.
feel, Sam?
you have some salt feels about this. This sounds like it's up your alley.
I am salty about mana drain. And the reason
outta
why
here.
I don't think it's like it is a powerful card. I'm kind of surprised it's on this salty list at all. But it is a powerful card. The reason I don't like it is because people with a mana drain in hand will
Mhm.
sometimes counter a card just for being 3 or more mana.
Mhm.
Like it is one of the only counters that is often just played purely for value so they can have a big turn next turn. And sometimes it comes down and you're like, why the fuck did you just counter that spell? And they're like, I need 3 mana. And you're like, God damn it. Like that is the worst feeling. I'd rather have you counter something of mine that is Tony's smiling because he fucking did this to me the other day. I
yeah,
would
your
rather
smothering tithe wasn't like an important thing at all.
it wasn't Smothering Tithe. It was Alesha.
Oh, it was Alesha. Whatever.
my
Alesha's
commander.
also important. It was the right move, folks.
No, whatever. but the thing is, like,
I
you
like this
counter
perspective though.
something that is like people counter something that may not be a threat purely
Mhm.
because they want the mana, which
I get
I
that.
get it. I think the strategy makes sense, but I just hate that shit because it combines losing a card and bad targeting priority, which are like 2 things I just, that
Right.
that grind my
Unless
gears
it's
a little bit.
tempo. It's a tempo play.
It is a tempo play, but man, it's just it's that gets me salty for sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this one, Mike?
I mean, I like it. I don't like getting
Get the
countered
fuck outta here.
just as much as everybody else, like that's not an experience that I like, but I kind of like that. Hear me out. Hear me out. This is Blues hyper shitty rampant growth.
Get the fuck out of here.
Stupid.
Fucking
So
leave.
Stupid.
What
It's
do
2
you
mana.
fucking mean?
It's 2 mana and it gives you mana, but
Or
someone
one
else has to
turn.
cast a spell in order for you to do that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in
And it
this
only
game,
lasts one
nobody
turn.
fucking does that. No one
That's-
plays spells.
That
ever.
is the justification that got this card designed. That is like what the design team the thought of. They're like, it's not even good. It's basically just Blues ramp, and now it's like this A tier card. When back in the day, it was probably just like a random ass piece of jank.
You know what Blues rampant growth is? Mind Stone. I don't think you can call mana
Yeah.
drain Blues rampant growth.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of just messing around. I do truly agree with you guys.
Goofing.
I think it also
Everyone at Mike for saying that.
He has his own Twitter account now. You can go right to the source.
you can.
At the shit out of him for claiming that mana drain is Blues rampant growth.
But for real, one of the things I do really dislike about it is how expensive it is
Yeah.
combined with how prevalent it is. A lot of these
Yeah.
really expensive cards we don't see make it into every deck. Like Cyclonic Rift makes it into a ton of decks, but it's so expensive that it doesn't quite make it into everything.
Mhm.
This makes it into like a ton of stuff and costs a bunch of money. So
Yeah.
normally we guess the salty rating, like where this is in the top 100 cards. We'll get to that in a second. But what
Mhm.
percent of decks do you think this is in on EDH Rec?
Ooh.
With that lead in, I'm going to guess 13%.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
I'm gonna guess higher than that. I think 30% of decks, 30% of
Oh,
blue
wow.
decks are probably
That'd
gonna
be a
play
lot.
it.
Well,
So
this
to
is
clarify,
percentage
it's
of,
all
like,
decks. I
decks.
can't
30% of
sort
all
just by
decks?
blue. You know, it's
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
percent
okay.
of all decks on EDH Rec have it in it.
I think that's because 13% of players suck and play blue.
I would do maybe 17. I'm going high too.
Mike, do you want to revise, or do you just want to stick with 30%
Yeah.
of blue, which we can't
No,
really
I'm gonna
confirm or
revise.
deny?
No, I'm gonna revise. 47% of
Oh,
decks.
damn. You know, he's right, because we didn't factor in the decks that aren't blue but run it
But
anyway.
illegally play it.
Just have a copy in the sideboard. Like,
I'm gonna go ahead and say 20%. I really think it's up there. I think it's
Yeah.
up there.
Fair. So it's at 16%,
Oh,
which
I almost guessed
is really, really pretty insane, right? Like
That's
it's,
crazy.
That's high.
it's a
Yeah.
crazy proportion of the decks that can run it that are running it.
So where does it sit on the list, Mike?
Well, take some guesses. That's the next portion of our salty card
I'll
game
let Sam
here.
guess first, because I have a number in my head and I don't want him to copy me.
I'm gonna guess 61.
Okay.
Hmm,
Did he
I'm gonna
copy
say
you, Tony?
35.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with 47. No, I'm gonna go 33.
Ooh,
Okay.
Look at these guys.
Well, Sam was closest. It is 66.
Let's go.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's the
So it
only
is
time he's ever gotten it closer than me.
only time, definitely. I mean, it does show up in the bottom half. It's not one of the
I mean, it makes
highest
sense.
ones.
Everybody's fucking running it, so they're not going to say that it's salty.
It used to be much higher. Like
Yeah, I
having
bet.
worked for EDH Rec's sister company and like the iterations of the salt scale that we saw like a year or two ago,
Mhm.
this was much higher. It was.
Yeah.
And now I guess the reprints made it more accessible and people are like, no, it's pretty good actually.
It's fine
Do
if
we-
everyone can have it.
Do we have the old standing mic?
We have last year. Last year it was 65. And last year was, I think, also collected after the reprint here. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I bet if we went like in the Wayback Machine.
yeah, I
we'd
think
see
if
it
we
much
went
higher.
farther and farther back than that, it would show up higher.
It's an interesting
for sure.
card.
All right. Well, that concludes this week's Salty Card of the Week. Thanks for
Well, thanks,
playing.
Mike. That was lovely. And thank you to our listeners out there for tuning in to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast. And thank you, Mike, for jumping out and hanging out with us on here.
Yeah, buddy.
Super happy to have another salt connoisseur out here. If you guys want to find more Mike, check out his article on Commander's Herald, Am I the Bolas? It's kind of interesting, like how we've been talking about it. We talk
Mhm.
about very similar things, but I feel like you get different questions than we do. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like just talking about it, like people are looking to see if they're being an asshole in your questions. And in ours, sometimes they're just
Exactly.
telling us that they are the asshole already.
Right. Like I do have some, man, some of these are like they can be rough, but for the most part, it's like, I don't know, did I do something wrong? Or am I wrong for feeling this way about
Yeah.
somebody who is
Mm.
very much being a prick, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and so, I've been doing this series for like the entire time Commander's Herald has been running.
Oh, that's awesome.
Please, if you have any stories that you want me to weigh in on, please just send an email to markcarbonza@gmail.com. I know it sounds fake, but I promise it's real. It's me. If you go to the article series on commandersherald.com, you'll see it. It's right there. That's the email I use. It's a dumb pseudonym that I started using a while back. I like it a lot. So send me your stories and I'll happily talk about them in the series, unless you're just a bigot or sexist, in which case I'll email you back telling you to fuck off. Because I have had 2 of those.
Man.
Yeah.
No good.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants that email too, we'll make sure to put that in the description for the episode, so you can check there too.
Nice.
And Mike, where else can people find you? Do you want to like plug your Twitter or anything like that? I know
Yeah,
you do some
absolutely.
stand-up stuff too.
Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian first and foremost. So I have a comedy album out called Cherubic. It's available on Blonde Medicine Records, and so wherever you get your, Spotify, Apple Music, if you buy from Bandcamp, like stuff like that.
Sweet.
I have a podcast called We Didn't Get a Rose. It's a podcast about The Bachelor.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh my God. I have to tell my girlfriend.
And hell yeah. I was actually on a live episode in San Francisco of Will You Accept This Rose podcast with Arden Marine.
No
And that's
way.
coming up soon.
That's sick, dude.
But yeah, Mike Carrozza, MikeCarrozza at Mike Carrozza on Twitter, at Mike Carrozza on Instagram. You can hit me up if you have anything that you want to send in, or you just want to say what's up. Just hit me up. I'm out there.
Sweet.
I'm about it.
Nice.
And if you guys want more Howling Salt Mine content, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Howling Salt Mine. We have bonus episodes every month for our extra salt series. You can also check out our new short form series that we're calling Stray Grains from the Salt Shaker. Little clips and things like that. And
that's where Tony's going to tell you to get good.
Exactly. And jump into our Discord and hang out with us. It's a really good time. If you want one of your stories on a future Howling Salt Mine episode, email us at thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram, Twitter, or Reddit. On Instagram and Reddit, we are The Howling Salt Mine, and on Twitter, we are Howling Salt Mine, because we couldn't get the. And, if you guys want to give us a 5-star review, we always fucking love that. Thank you so much for doing that if you already have. And of course, we have to shout out our amazing podcast artist, JD Burnett. JD is a tattoo artist in Asheville, North Carolina. So if you're ever in the area, hit him up and get a tattoo from him. He's a really cool guy.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Mike, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, boys.
As always, stay salty, and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
What's up, Mike? I'm Mike. Nice to meet you.
Yo, nice to meet you, Mike. I'm Mike.
T-Money. We're going with T-Money.
fuck.
Yeah. His name is
literally happens every
he has
time.
to do it. Yeah. So if you're Mike Carrozza, who the fuck is Mark Carbonza? Your Gmail address. I had to triple check it. I was like, who's Mark Carbonza?
Mark Carbonza. I've been doing stand-up comedy for like over 10 years, like close to 12, 13 years now. And this one time a host brought me up and he was like, how do you pronounce your name? I was like, Mike Carrozza. And I was like, okay, Mike Carrozza. Okay. And then he got on stage and was like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Carbonza. And I was like, that's great. So I filed that away for a long time. And then I decided to use it like, because at Commander's Herald, I thought it would be a smart idea to kind of separate my comedy stuff from Magic stuff.
Yeah.
At the time, I even had like a separate Twitter account and everything. And then I just realized I don't care enough to like
It's like too much effort leading these two separate lives.
Yeah. So a couple of my comedy fans are going to see some Magic the Gathering tweets here and there. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
What are they going to ostracize you for being a nerd?
Yeah, dude. Hey, man, they can't hurt me anymore. I'm confident. Did we lose Tony? Tony looks frozen as hell.
Oh, shit.
All right, let's talk shit. Tell me a secret about Tony.
Tony is
bad at threat assessment.
Yeah. Tony, yes. And also Tony has really powerful decks that he calls jank all the time, and we'll be like, it's just jank, and just will kick our ass, and we'll be like, dude, it's not fucking jank. He's like,
give me an example.
It's just jank, and he does it all the time. So he's got a the most notorious deck is a Grenzo Dungeon Warden deck. So it's all about like playing off the bottom of your library.
Oh yeah,
man. So it runs janky cards. It is
of course it does strategy. Because that's exactly.
But it fucking slaps, and it just like cranks out on turn like 4 or 5, and he will just combo off and totally beat us. And he's also great, and we really like him. Hey, welcome back, Tony.
Oh, fuck you.